Law of Property Act 1925, have you ever heard of that? You might well have seen it at the somewhere deep in a lease where it says the landlord reserves the right to enforce a section 146 notice. Now let me just read you what section 146 of the Law of Property Act 1925 says. Restrictions on and relief against forfeiture of leases and underleases. And the all big word you need to remember as a tenant is forfeiture. A right of re-entry or forfeiture under any proviso or stipulation in a lease for a breach of any covenant or condition in the lease shall not be enforceable by action or otherwise unless and until the lessor serves on the lessee a notice A. specifying a particular breach complained of, and B. if the breach is capable of remedy, requiring the lessee to remedy the breach, and C. in any case requiring the lessee to make compensation in money for the breach. And if the lessee fails within a reasonable time thereafter to remedy the breach, if it is capable of remedy, and to make reasonable compensation in money to the satisfaction of the lessor for the breach. So what does that mean? Basically, almost certainly if you rent a commercial property, you'll be on what's called a full repairing and insuring lease. That means you the tenant, are responsible for all the repairs on that property. Any damage, the landlord can come after you for it. He will use this notice. I've done it. I've done this for landlords acting against tenants. We use these, we throw them at you, and we complain. You do have to follow that notice. There is a possibility you can defend it. Your defence is the property was in that condition when you took it. But you need to be able to prove that, and the landlord needs to agree it was in that condition when you took it. So acting for a landlord, I say, serve a dilapidations notice, and let's get the tenant to repair this property so it's in good order. Acting for a tenant, I say, before you sign a lease, not after you signed a lease, before you sign a lease, have a schedule of condition done. Agree it with the landlord, the exact condition of that property when you moved in. Then, when the landlord comes back to you and says, I want this repaired, if you can prove it was in that condition beforehand, you're safe. If you don't, I'm afraid you're not. Schedules of condition for you as a tenant are vital, and I urge you always to have one done at the beginning of the lease. But make sure it is agreed, signed and settled before you actually sign. Thank you again for listening to BIV Bowes. I hope that's another piece of useful advice.